We on one. We on one because we have brought back once again. While my hair is like all over the place here, that's better. We have brought it back again to retro cross training plays. So the world of sneakers is in tremendous flux. We're not selling, we're not seeing sold, we're not buying the same. We're on a running kick. We're not seeing Jordan 1 mids sell like crazy like they did before. But we have seen another glimmer of retro cross training potentially meaning something again in the marketplace. And this is really shout out. This one is especially for the OG heads that we have out there that loved, we saw some Griffin energy the last couple of years. We've seen the Bo Jackson come back on the marketplace. I know there's definitely been as a demand and an ask for other styles like that. We're getting an Agassi later this year, but he made some noise last year, and there's some splashes earlier this year. But Deion Sanders, otherwise known as, you can see on my shirt, for those that are watching on YouTube, Coach Prime, that is coaching the University of Colorado Buffalo football team. Back in the news earlier this year when we heard that he was going to re-sign with Nike. So, there's a history there, and I'll touch on it in a second. But most recently, he was signed to Under Armour and then a free agent. But with him returning to Colorado, turning and now signing with Colorado at the beginning of the 2023 football season to be the head coach of Colorado. And the Buffaloes, and along with his son is the starting quarterback, is going into his senior year. That is a Nike school. And with all of that, there's been some conversations and some talks that would now be a opportunity for him to rejoin the Nike brand after really stepping away many, many years ago. So saying all of that, Coach Prime has, in fact, I think it came out in February that he re-signed with Nike. Shortly after, I think it was like a week or two later, we saw a lineup that got a lot of people excited. He put out in cleat version, in sneaker version, Diamond Turf, the original one, and the DT Max, which is Diamond Turf Max, essentially what that stands for, from the 96 version. So that's one that almost has like zebra stripes on it. Pretty amazing. It comes in multiple colors, so there's a white, black. There's definitely a black, white, and a varsity maize that essentially goes around with the Buffalo's uniform. So there's some energy. So, hey, the question was, are we going to see retros of this shoe? Now, we've seen retros of this shoe over the history. In the last couple years, we definitely saw Diamond Turf 1. So that was originally a white base shoe that came out also in black with a little red trim. That's from his Atlanta Falcons days. Came out in 93, 94. It's come out in 05. It came out in 10. There were sprinkles of it in 11 and in also 13. Diamond Turf 2 we didn't see. Diamond Turf 3 essentially is the max version. So that originally came out in 96. I think his last year at Atlanta before he went to the San Francisco 49ers. Or actually, this was after the 49ers, before he went to the Cowboys. Retroed in 08, retroed in 10, retroed in 13. So they're probably the two most popular models. The Diamond Turf 2, which he won defensive MVP in, that is not nearly as popular as the Diamond Turf Max and the original Diamond Turf. So great to see some of the energy with some of these sneakers, that they're now available on the marketplace, or at least talks of there being on the marketplace. So there was then all of a sudden, shortly after the Super Bowl, there was a shock drop of the Diamond Turf Max that he's been seen on the practice field. The spring practice, we've seen him wear it. That there was a shock drop. Then he started wearing it. Official release was last week on the 14th, right before Father's Day weekend. Very limited pairs in Canada. Lots of pairs in the US. Holy crap. Could we have anticipated that people wanted the sneaker like they wanted the Diamond Turf Max 96? It sold out in minutes. So there was energy on obviously sneakers, but to sell out in physical stores. So Foot Locker, Champs, JD Sports, Dick's, etc., etc. The stores, Nike, obviously.com had it. Sold out in minutes. Not available. Canada really didn't see many pairs at all. Resale. Holy crap. We are talking now at least a 50% markup. We're talking at least 330, 360, 380 US or Canadian for this shirt. So significant markup in this particular shoe. But does this mean that this particular model and this particular style of shoe that we have cross-training, functional cross-training, but really was for the streets, it's back. So again, with the Diamond Turf model, if I give you, so a little bit more history, there's 5 models in total. So we talked about Diamond Turf 1. He wore it in Atlanta when he played for the Falcons. Diamond Turf 2, he wore when he went to San Francisco as a free agent. Diamond Turf 3, this is when he transitioned to Dallas. Then he got his second year in Dallas. He had Diamond Turf, Diamond 4. We call it DT4 Max. There was a squad. I remember having this at work on the sales floor. And he definitely was Dallas colors. I don't know what I was doing, but I loved Deion so much back in those days, back in '97. There has not been a retro of that one. Don't know if there really will need to be one. That would be kind of an interesting one. I don't think there's any demand for the one that came out in '98, which was DT4 or DT Max 5. A lot of silver. Really more of a turf shoe, an end-use shoe, than it would ever be a fashion shoe. There was an alternative color to it. I think that more people would graduate that back in '98. But Diamond Turf 4 and Diamond Turf 5 have never really released. So, hey, when you look at 1 through 5, this is one of the best collections of anyone's signature shoe that's not a basketball shoe we've ever talked. Now, you put him in the category of, obviously, Ken Griffey, and many people debate which is better, the Griffey model, the Diamond Turf model. We have Charles Barkley that's had his own series of shoes. We've definitely had Pippen that's had his own series of shoes. So Nike at this time was just rolling out athletes. They had the right athletes at the right time, and really had some tremendous success. But really, if you think about who is Deion Sanders, why did they make so much noise about him? Why? He's a motivational speaker. He's a father of several children. 2 of his kids that played for him at Colorado last year, and his third son, his oldest son, actually was worked on the social media for the Colorado Buffaloes. But if we rewind, and talk about who Deion Sanders is. So Deion Sanders, way back in the late 80s, so I would say 88, 89, was a 2-sport phenom in Florida. He played football and basketball, or football and baseball, but he also was like an all-state basketball player. Essentially, he was all-state in all 3 sports. He was originally drafted by the Kansas City Royals. Actually, this goes back to 1985, but he didn't sign a contract. He ultimately did go to Florida State, played football there, played baseball. And so the phenomenon around Deion is that he played 2 sports essentially simultaneously, going back and forth through, and then he gets drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. He had one of the most unique and engaging and draft nights that we've ever seen from an athlete. He got drafted 3rd overall. He showed up, a couple months prior to that to the NFL Combine. He got clocked doing a 4.21 40, which is essentially one of the fastest 40 times ever recorded. This is a hand stop. This is where we went electronic in so many other ways that they measured the 40 now. But one of the fastest clock-ins we've ever seen. And he did this in sneakers and pads. He got drafted by the Falcons in '89 and quickly established him as an elite kick returner and one of the great cover corners that we've ever seen in the NFL. He was one that brought swagger, notoriety, and essentially money to the defensive back position. At the same time, during his offseason, he's also was in the major leagues. He played for the New York Yankees. He's the only player that's ever hit a home run and scored a touchdown in the same week. So this is one of the great elite athletes that we ever have seen. He's done so many, unique and for many people, crazy things that we've seen. So we've seen him go out into the world and do so many things that we really haven't seen from a baseball perspective and a football perspective. We saw him play in I think it was the 91 World Series, the 92 World Series, because it was the first World Series that the Blue Jays won. And he was going back and forth playing NFL football and also he played literally an NFL game and showed up in the dugout to play like Game 3 of the World Series, or Game 3 of the National League Championship Series in the same weekend. Never been done, probably never will be done. But charisma, flamboyancy, and elite skill level. We've never seen someone play at that level as an NFL player, and he ended up being an all-pro NFL player, ended up in the Hall of Fame, one of the great cover corners, NFL top 75 players of all time. He is in the upper echelon when we talk about the best defensive backs that we've ever seen and defensive players, period. He rolled with MC Hammer at one point. He was in music videos. He came up with his own rap song. There's so many things that make this gentleman such a unique player. On top of playing baseball at a very high level, he batted .300 in the World Series. So Deion was the man. Deion was the man and still is the man. And Nike decided in '93 to create a shoe for him called the Diamond Turf. So Diamond Turf was, one of the first signature sneakers that we've ever seen from an athlete. On the cross-training side, this led to Diamond Turf 2, where he wore in San Francisco as banner for the San Francisco 49ers. He did win the Super Bowl that year, his first Super Bowl, on the same team as the likes of Ricky Waters, Jerry Rice, Steve Young, among others. Had a one-year stint in San Francisco. Here is actually, and as you can tell, I am a fan. This is his signed San Francisco 49er jersey when I got a chance to meet, and I'll tell you that story in a second. Ended up on the Dallas Cowboys the following year, won the Super Bowl again with the Dallas Cowboys, partnering with Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, an elite defense, Emmitt Smith, who's the all-time NFL rushing leader. So back-to-back Super Bowls for Deion. Did spend some more time with the Dallas Cowboys, then flipping over ultimately to the Washington Redskins at that time, now Commanders, and then finished his career at age 37 with the Baltimore Ravens and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, amongst others. So that's his football side. From his baseball side, end up playing lots with the Cincinnati Reds before he called it a career. So only recently, the last 2 years prior to the 2023 season, he got into coaching. Started to coach at an HBCU, which really elevated his career and his ability to coach. Ultimately, Colorado came knocking, and with that, it ended up being an opportunity for him to coach a major college program that really needed some help. That really needed there was an opportunity to kind of turn things around in Colorado. Colorado at that point was really struggling with their program. They'd only won like 3 games in a 2-year span. Now his first year as a coach, lots of fanfare. They came out of the gate 3-1 or 3-0. Ultimate, or was it 3-1? Anyways, only ended up finishing the season after some injuries and some challenges that they only ended up, excuse me, being 4-8. And now there's the opportunity in the discussion, what will happen with Colorado in year 2? There's people that have transferred out. There's definitely people that have transferred in. So we are definitely in line to see what happens with him moving forward. You know, Colorado is his second stop as a coach. Jackson State was where he coached first, and again, as an HBCU. Did have tons of success there. Coached there for 3 seasons. Only lost 6 games. In the conference went 8-0 these 2 full seasons. And, was able to have some success winning the division twice. And then obviously Jackson State, there were some COVID, challenges. So didn't play, a full season when he first got there. So definitely very interesting to see what he does this year. But really going back and talking about the shoes. So he introduces again back in February. They got shock dropped on sneakers, and then now we have energy as of last Friday. People are interested in anything that Deion touches. You know, we saw him on ESPN Game Day, and some of the great conversations, some of the best college game days from last year. The pregame was in Colorado as they've sold, literally 100% more merchandise than they sold before. Games were sold out. We had rappers like Lil Wayne showing up to games, doing the pregame and running out with players. So there's so much energy in Colorado. Let's see how we can, really elevate and do things again in 2024. So I told you there was a story. So there is an encounter I had with Deion Sanders way back in, when was that? I would tell you it's 2016. So national managers meeting at work. I find out, and this is when Deion is with Under Armour, that Under Armour is doing a presentation, and Deion is the guest speaker. So I got a chance to rally some of my fellow leaders that were football fans to ask questions to one Deion Sanders. I was the third question. I got a chance to ask a question, and when I got a chance to stand up and speak in front of a room in the crowd was about 600 people. And I had the mic, and it's like, hey, before I ask my question, I want to tell you, Deion Sanders, that you are my idol. I've dressed like you. In high school, I wore number 21. I followed you. I followed your career, both football and baseball, to a T, and truly admire you, and someone I've always looked up to. Deion Sanders, if you can believe, and I guess you have to believe if you really kind of get to know, he's a man of deep faith. And really has the belief that things happen for a reason. Sure enough, Deion, to my surprise, says, come on up on stage. I'm like shell-shocked. There's no way I am going on stage with Deion Sanders. But I go up there. People start cheering. It says, like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. That a guest goes to ask a question. He says that, tells the guest speaker that's his idol, and he gets to go on stage. So it proceeded for the next 5 or 6 minutes for me and Deion Sanders, both in our lovely suits. He's in a gray, I'm in a blue, and we get a chance to just talk about things, talk about his family, talk about how big of a fan. I ended up having to do the primetime celebration TD dance on stage in front of 600 people. So wild, so unbelievable. I can't believe this is happening. But we end up having a great conversation, and it's like, who's your biggest inspiration? He says his mother. I will never forget the answer to this day. And so, I think everything's over. The night's over. Everything kind of transpires. People are going like, I've never seen it. People are like wiling, like how amazing the interaction between him and I were on that specific day. To my surprise, Under Armour executives come and approach me and say, Deion Sanders wants to talk to you in the back. And it's like, pardon me? I already had my 5 minutes of fame. He wants to talk to you in the back. So I go to the back, and he daps me up, wants to talk. He says like, hey, I'm sure, let's take some pictures. I'm going, he's asking me to take pictures. So we start taking pictures. He starts posing like he's going to cover me. We side by side. Like, it's just like, this is like such a surreal moment. One of my most surreal moments in my entire life. The greatest moment of my entire career at the organization that I work at, which is Foot Locker. So we start talking about fishing. We start talking about all of these things. And then goes on about 15 minutes. The executives, both from both organizations, are waiting to get in. And it's like, in due time. We talk for another couple minutes. And then I decide to step to the side so everyone else can have their time. Deion says no. Deion says, sit down right beside me, and everything, I need to know that you're good. And so you're sitting right beside me, so I can be right beside you. I'm just going like, unbelievable. This goes on top, which I didn't even talk about. On stage, when we're on the stage, and before I have to do the Deion Sanders dance, he says, it's like, hey, I told you guys already, I'm a little under the weather. I traveled from the U.S. I didn't know I was going to come. I really knew in the heart of hearts that I should show up. My agent just passed away, but God was telling me there was a reason that I needed to come to Canada. And Lionel McDonald is the reason I came to Canada. I'm going, oh my goodness. I could not believe the words that are coming out of this man's mouth. I could not believe that Deion Sanders says I was the reason that he had to come to Canada. So anyways, everything wraps up. I have my best of all. I have all of his jerseys. I showed him. I even showed him, say, I'm no fair weather fan. I show him the wall of my office. It has every single Deion jersey from college to his last stop as a 37-year-old in Baltimore, lined up in my office. Each one of them, I says, hey, the best condition one I brought with me because I heard you were going to be here the night before. He signs my 49er jersey. Wishes the Washington jersey. It's not in great shape. I've beaten the crap out of that one. But 49er jersey he signs. I still have it to this day. Still have it in my office. It was pretty amazing to see. But that is my memorable moment of meeting Deion Sanders. So if we flip back to the shoe as we kind of wrap things up. So it's really going to be amazing to see what this means for the Diamond Turf. Will there be more pairs? I'm sure that there's now talk of the other colors. There's a white black. There is a white red, which was super popular that came out. I think that was the first retro of this shoe. So I think this one, 2010, I want to say the red one came out. So there'll be definitely some energy. Will we see more Diamond Turf? The OG one, they've already announced that now. OG comes out in 2025. So the first model, which I wore that in university. That was like the first Deion Sanders shoe that I had to have it. That was more important to a Jordan or a Grant Hill Fila or a Bo Jackson, any of those shoes. That was the shoe. That was the first signature shoe that I ever owned. 2 years later, I would buy my first pair of Jordans. But this was the most important signature shoe. And again, continue to choose. In high school, I wore number 21 as Deion did. In university, I have some old school pics with me with no hair, and that was the shoe that I wore, or number I wore, number 21. My brother did the Diamond Turf logo, 21 and 24, that was on it with the goalpost. He did that on my laundry bag and colored it in as a gift for me to go away to university to play college football. So Deion Sanders has been the center of my sports world for most of my life. I will be very excited to have that. I started to wear my Diamond Turfs again and rolled out some of them. I'm sure I'm going to wear DT Max and a couple of the other colors. The red one's a little beat up. I got a blue and gray one that I definitely will probably pop off this week. But hey, is this mean that there's a demand for signature cross-training shoes? I don't know. We had some Griffey's. Griffey's has kind of been a hit and miss. I think the OG colors are people that are interested in. I think if they came out again, people would buy them again. We definitely could see Bo Jackson's again. Agassi, although that's a tennis shoe, there's definitely energy for when that comes out later this year. But OG heads, there's certain shoes and certain models that really matter to us. And I think if you think that this is a good thing, that Deion Sanders is back with Colorado, I think there's an opportunity to do so many different things and continue to elevate the Nike brand, and at the same time elevate cross training. It is a lost art in the world of running and basketball and so many other specialty sports. Cross training, which used to be the cornerstone of the entire sneaker market, is now kind of fallen by the wayside. I don't know if they'll ever go back into doing new innovation when it comes to cross-training models, but from a retro perspective, there are certain sneakers that the OGs love. There's certain sneakers that the OGs want to see out there in the marketplace. Diamond Turf, we clearly understand that this is one of them. So shout out to Nike, shout out to Deion and the Diamond Turf team. Special moment to see that we bring back a cross trainer and people are all over, and there's huge demand. It's sold out in minutes, and I think this means that, hey, there's going to be energy on other models of the Diamond Turf as they come out, so long as we keep it OG and don't go crazy with colors as we did, back in 2013 is the last one. I think we just kind of lost our way. There's room for Diamond Turf. So that's it from Sneaks Rhymes in Life. Hopefully giving you a little color about me, Prime, obviously the Diamond Turf, how I met Prime, and some of the things that are happening right now with cross training. It's a lost art. OGs love it, and it really could mean something if they continue to find new ways to put energy back into the market and not really depend on just signature basketball and selling Air Force and some of the other stuff that are there. There is so many cool silhouettes that are in the Nike vault that have meaning, that have energy, that mean something. Hopefully they maybe relaunch this thing, because I definitely don't think enough people got a chance to get their hands on it. But until the next episode, Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life, we out. Deion Sanders and the Diamond Turf, this today's episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Google, on Spotify, and on YouTube. But thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you on the next episode. We out.